Yes guys, oh my gosh, we are back for another video. It has been the longest time, I think 46 days to be precise, but here we are back again. And this time, I've said it before, but we are 1,000,000% here to stay. Matt does fitness, an inspiration for me to get into doing the YouTube videos in the first place. I watched his video on how much he earned in 2021, and regardless of the fact that he earned an insane amount of money in 2021, it's not the money that like motivated me. Obviously it's incredible to think that, you know, there's that sort of potential with YouTube, but I just like the way he spoke about when he first started. Similar to me, you know, he was posting regularly and he was doing about 3 or 4 videos a week for about 3 years, and then he started to get some sort of gain, but even then it wasn't anything to write home about. So long story short, I know I need to stick to the consistency. So this is me giving you my word that I will be consistent from now on. And we're back with the first video of the year. So it's 2022 now, we're into the new year, and I thought people would probably set in their new year goals. I'd start with something informative, teaching you guys how to effectively build muscle. So without further ado, let's get straight into the video. Okay, so we are going to be obviously talking about training, nutrition. I'm going to talk separately on each topic. Then as the video goes on, I'll kind of tie them both in together. I'll probably have to do that throughout anyway, because sometimes when I'm talking about training, I kind of have to talk about nutrition as well. So when we're talking about building muscle, what do we need? Obviously we need a good diet, an effective diet that's going to help us aid to build muscle. And then we need a training stimulus. We need to be fueled for our sessions, which then ties in food and sleep. So combining all these factors together, this is how we're ultimately going to build muscle. Now, the first thing I want to talk about when it comes to training is progressive overload. For those of you who don't know what progressive overload is where over a period of time you consistently push harder in the gym, you know, whether that's with your weight that you're lifting. So every time you go to the gym, you're trying to go heavier, you're doing more reps, more sets, or decreasing the rest time, just some sort of progression session by session. That is what progressive overload is. Now, providing this training stimulus in terms of pushing your muscles, you're ultimately going to build muscle. Now, that's just one factor. Nutrition is obviously incredibly important, and the structure of your training is also incredibly important, but one key thing to remember is progressive overload. But tying on from progressive overload, understanding your training and having a training program in place is incredibly important in order to reach goals and know if you're getting stronger. So say for example, we do incline dumbbell bench press every week, but we don't have the same program every week. We'll do incline dumbbell press at the start of the workout one week, but then the week after we'll start the session with cable flyers and then do incline dumbbell press. Well, if you then don't lift as heavy on the second week because you started with something else first, you're not going to know whether you're making progress because you haven't had the structure to your training. So that's why it's important to have a program in place, follow that program, because then you can effectively progressively overload and notice your progression and keep track of it in a healthier and more manageable way. And I know it's not possible to say to everyone like, okay, when you go to the gym one week you have to do 100 kilos and then do 110 and then do 120. No one's saying that's exactly what you have to do. You can make small progressions, you know, so if you are doing 100, you can go to 102, 102.5 or whatever weight increments your gym has. You don't have to make big jumps, and also you don't have to make a jump every single training session, you know. Do it over a longer period of time. So from week 1 to week 8, can you make a progression in that space? It doesn't have to be week by week. If you do 1 week, 1 weight, and then this week after you do the same weight again, but the second week it felt easier, then you'll know the week after you're in a position to go heavier and then to push yourself even more. But consistency is so key when looking to build strength. When we talk about building strength, obviously the basis of it all, you've got to have great form. You don't want to be doing things wrong, because then you won't be recruiting the right muscles. You eventually will hit a crazy plateau. So like, let's say for example, you are doing a deadlift and you are relying too much on your back and not using your legs enough, or vice versa, relying on your legs more so than your back, and you're not bracing correctly, you're not in the right position, and the form is all wrong, you're never going to make the progressions you want, because having correct technique is vital for the building blocks to building your strength. So that's it guys, get a program in place, make sure your form's correct, and over time, in terms of strength, you should see the results. Now, moving on to the diet, when tying in how to build muscle, first thing people will spring to their mind is, oh, I need to be in a calorie surplus. And that is probably the main thing you need to be doing. And I would say take your calorie surplus very, very gently. Do not dirty bulk, do not go into an insane surplus to try and pack on loads of size. You have to understand the training is what's going to build the muscle itself, because that is what is stimulating, and I keep using that word, but that's what's stimulating muscle growth. The nutrition aids the muscle growth, but the training is the main priority in terms of actually getting something going. If you just didn't go gym and just ate really well, no muscle growth would happen. It's just not physically possible. But that being said, if you do the training correctly and you time your nutrition appropriately, so having a gradual calorie surplus and prioritizing protein intake, roughly 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight, you should see both going hand in hand, and you're likely to get more progress and build more muscle. In my personal opinion, I don't even think a calorie surplus is always absolutely necessary, because I find if you're having a good amount of protein in your diet, let's say you're on maintenance calories, you're having a good amount of protein and you are following a good training program with progressive overload, and you're gradually getting stronger and stronger, I believe that over time you will follow probably the main gaining strategy, which is like where you maintain but you gain muscle at the same time. So you're not really trying to put on fat, cut down. And this is why I said don't dirty bulk, because if you take in too many calories at once, you're just gonna end up putting on too much fat, and then it's completely pointless. Yeah, you pack on a lot more size, but most of that size is fat, and eventually you're gonna wanna get rid of that anyway. The muscle that you're building when you dirty bulk is gonna be the same if you have a clean maintenance diet with good protein intake. The muscle growth is not going to change if you have an insane amount of calories. You're just going to put on more fat, and it's going to be harder for you to strip down. So take it nice and slow, focus on your training, good nutrition, protein intake. That is essential. Obviously, it is key to stay hydrated. Water is a massive factor when it comes to building muscle mass. If you're not hydrated, you're depriving or you're dehydrating your body. So quite simply put, if your body's not hydrated, it can't perform to its highest level. The body needs water, it needs to be hydrated for that very reason. Now, when it comes to talking about supplements, I know a lot of people are curious as to whether there are any supplements that can aid in muscle growth, and there are 2 that I would say, potentially 3, that aid in muscle growth. Creatine being the absolute GOAT of them all. If you're having your creatine and you're following everything that I've said and you're training really well, creatine will definitely help to build muscle mass. What creatine actually does, it basically helps to supply a continuous amount of energy to your working muscles. So if you take creatine as you're training, it's not like you're gonna get this burst of energy and you're gonna feel like, oh, you can lift 1,000,000 kilos. Just gradually over time, it will help energize those working muscles, and you would just generally be pushing, even if it's 1% harder than you would have been without creatine, it's 1% more, and that can over time, 1% every week can lead to massive gains. So I would say make sure you're taking your creatine. And the second is obviously whey protein. Like I said, protein is essential in your diet. If you're getting enough protein, we know protein is for growth and repair, so if you need that in your diet to help you get more protein, have it. What I would say stay away from is mass gainers, things that have got like 1,000 calories per scoop. They're full of crap, and again, you're just gonna be taking in way too many calories. If you're eating a lot of food on top of that, you're just gonna be having too much. You're gonna end up putting on a lot of fat. There's not any real good to them, so focus on eating good foods, understand your calories, and then you'll make the progress you need without mass gainers. And then the third and final one that I said might help you build muscle. I don't really know if you class it as a supplement, but I was gonna say pre-workout. So having some sort of caffeine booster before you train might just perk you up a little bit, might make you feel more up for the session, help push a little bit more weight. Realistically, it's just mental, and it just makes you feel better. But if making you feel better is gonna mean you push harder, then why not take it? Just be safe with it. Don't get one that's got a mad caffeine content in it, or it's like banned in the UK or something. Go get a safe one and take that if you really want to. Now, the one secret supplement that no one talks about enough, that is going to help you build muscle and is going to help fuel your training sessions better than any supplement that I've spoken about, is your sleep. Make sure you get a good amount of sleep. If you want a good session, you need to be fueled for it. Your nutrition is important, your supplements are important, but if you do not sleep well, you're going to feel tired, you're not going to feel ready for the session. The body needs to reset, it needs to re-energize, so make sure you get a good amount of rest at night, sleep well, and in that way you'll be performing at your peak every single session. If you're not sleeping well, you're not going to be performing at your peak, and you're not going to be getting the progress over time. Some people will maybe say or ask, do genetics play a part in how much muscle I can build and how quickly I can build it? Yeah, to an extent they do. You know, person A might do the exact same thing as person B and they do it the exact same way over the exact same period of time, but genetically person A is just a little bit more advanced than genetic B, so he gets to where he wants to go a little bit quicker than person B. But if they both stick to the same program and they're doing the right things along the way, they will both get progress over time, they will get results. But obviously you can't speed these things up, they just have to happen naturally. You just got to be patient and allow your genetics to not get in the way of it. Just keep going and understand that the progress will happen. If your nutrition's on point, if your training's on point, if you're sleeping well, if you're hydrated, all of those things, you will get the results that you want eventually. And that basically leads on to my final point. In order to build muscle, and I've said it already, you have to be disciplined, you have to be consistent, and you have to be patient. If you tie in everything that I've said in this video, so going back to the training, progressive overload, going to the eating, you know, prioritizing your protein intake, making sure you're eating good food, you know, having some sort of supplementation to aid your training performance, sleeping well, making sure you're hydrated. If you tie all those things in together and you do it every single day, consistently for the rest of your life, progress will happen. You know, when you're in the gym, making sure your form is on point, studying the game, understanding what you need to be doing in order to make sure you're doing the movement absolutely correctly and connecting with your muscles. That is going to be key in order for you to build muscle. And on that point, actually going back to how we build strength, mind to muscle connection is obviously a thing, and it ties in with me saying about having good form. You want to learn how to do every movement correctly and really make sure you're getting the most out of it. So take your time to study these things. Don't cut corners with your training and just think you're doing it right when sometimes you deep down know you're not really feeling the connection. Research it, study it, understand, talk to people, watch more videos, and eventually you should be able to connect your mind to that muscle and therefore get the most out of it. But yeah guys, that basically sums it all up. So I hope you understand what it takes in order to build muscle. If you guys have any questions regarding this video and you want to know more, please drop a comment below. I will definitely respond to your comments. Make sure you drop me a follow on Instagram. You would have seen that earlier in the video. I've got a new Instagram. My last one got hacked, so please help me get my followers up. I'm not too far from 1,000. And I did have like nearly 6,000 on my last account, so please help me get back up. Make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel. The consistency is coming, and if you do that, I'll be very, very happy. And if you don't, I will cry myself to sleep tonight. So please make sure you subscribe. Smash the like button, and if you haven't got a question to comment what video you want to see next, and I'll see you all in the next video.